So at the Fastlane press conference, a reporter, I'm not going to name them, asked Iyo if she was going to face Taylor Swift.
Do you want to wrestle Taylor Swift, possibly at WrestleMania in
What?
Philly?
Are you crazy?
A fucking ridiculous question. And there was a lot of debate about it. I think it was stupid because Taylor Swift, of course, is in the news every day now because she's dating an NFL player. She's turning up at NFL games. None of this has anything to do with wrestling. It's not as if Iyo was asked about Cardi B, who has mentioned wrestling before. This was just totally out of nowhere stupid. And what a waste of a question to the only woman that was brought out at that press conference. This guy just decided to waste the opportunity to ask Iyo Sky anything by doing a joke question about Taylor Swift that was designed for nothing more than to get him over, for him to go viral and for everyone to know who he was. There was nothing else that he wanted from that other than for everyone to look at him and find his Twitter, whether they hated it, whether they loved it. He just wanted attention. And as a journalist, a reporter, even as an interviewer, even if you're saying, I'm not a journalist, I'm just someone that asks questions at interviews, you should never want the focus to be on you. And I don't think there's any way that guy can pretend that he wanted anything other than people to know who he was. But I think every outlet has their own objective, and maybe his outlet their objective is to be a joke and just get something clickbaity. And if that's what he was sent there to do, well, fair enough. But I think for people being like, oh, like you shouldn't care, like it's just wrestling, we should take wrestling more seriously. That doesn't mean that you have to always ask the most hard-hitting questions, but we should at least give it some respect and try and take it seriously as it, not a sport, but like a serious art form. Is people not taking wrestling seriously that has allowed so much bad shit to happen in wrestling? Like, wrestling doesn't get any respect from the outside media. That's why there's no one up in arms really about Vince McMahon being able to walk back in. There's no respect from the outside media. But how are they ever going to give it respect if we don't respect wrestling? So yes, it's not harmful to ask that Taylor Swift question, but I think it is harmful to just be like, oh, who cares? It's just a wrestling thing. Wrestling's just a joke anyway. Like, I don't like that. But I will say, like, these press conferences on both sides, WWE and AEW, are fucking weird because being in wrestling media is fucking weird because of the way wrestling is. And these press conferences don't know what they are or what they want to be. I think AEW is a worse offender than WWE because their scrums are all over the place. For example, and I do have a video where I talk about this at length, and I wish I could remember when it was, but I think this occurred at the Forbidden Door press conference, and I talked about it on my Dynamite review after Forbidden Door. So if you want to hear full thoughts, go to that. But we had the incident where Chris Jericho hit a water bottle with a baseball bat because he was doing an angle at a press conference. He hit a member of the media, but there was no real repercussions or anything. No one's actually ever addressed it since. And if you watch my video, I go into why I think that happened, etc. But just to use that as an example, Jericho is someone who is usually very good, very open, a great talker. He doesn't come out in character at press conferences. He gives insightful answers. Those are the best things that I can say about him. That as a person, like, he is actually a very good interview subject. But then at this random press conference, he comes out in character, total dickhead, and nearly injures a member of the media. Like, what? Who the fuck cleared that? And then at the Wrestle Dream press conference, you had Edge being totally out of character, speaking honestly, openly about moving to AW. And then Christian comes out and is fully in character. And this is just part of the weird aspect of pro wrestling, being in pro wrestling media. interviews with wrestlers are weird because we never know what we're going to get. We don't know what we're getting at the press conference, whether it's in character. We don't know if we're getting a wild, crazy, shirtless Jericho with a baseball bat, or if we're getting a man sitting talking about with a separation from his character and, you know, talking like he's made a piece of art. We don't know which of those we're getting. We don't know what we're getting when we get an interview. I interviewed Tiffany Stratton on Thursday, sorry. She was awesome, and she was out of character. She wasn't sitting there saying to me, yeah, I'm going to kick Becky Lynch's ass next time. She wasn't saying any of that shit to me. She was great, and she was out of character, meaning I could ask her anything. But when you're told that you're interviewing a wrestler, you have to prepare for both ways. I remember one time I interviewed Adam Cole, and it was before his match with Pat McAfee, and he was giving in-character answers, which is disappointing. This is when he was in WWE. And then I had to think on my feet of questions that could turn him around, and I did manage to turn him around, and he was great. I had an interview last year that just haunts me, where the wrestler, I'm not going to say who it was, I'm not going to say what company, it's not on my YouTube, it wasn't on video, I'm not going to give any hints, but this person was fully in character. They were clearly in their car. They clearly had other people in the back of the car that they were more interested in than answering my questions, and just give me the worst kayfabe answers. And I was left with this, like, what am I meant to do with this? Like, who is interested in you talking in character about your upcoming match? And these interviews are done to promote these wrestling companies and these wrestling shows. So you do want to get something, getting something out of them is beneficial for both sides. It's not just me getting clicks, it's them getting the promotion. And sometimes someone is so in kayfabe that you don't get anything. And honestly, I don't think any wrestler should talk in kayfabe. I get protecting the business, whatever. It's 2023. Kayfabe is shit. Just talk about the great art that you make, explain your art, do all of that. You know, there was a great tweet by Andreas Hale where he said, this is a very important aspect of pro wrestling media. You never have to wonder if you're interviewing Leonardo DiCaprio or Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street. Only pro wrestling blurs the lines. And that's so true. And it's hard, but you definitely don't help things by asking daft Taylor Swift questions, irrelevant Taylor Swift questions, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm just annoyed because it was about Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift. I would love to talk to someone about Taylor Swift, but not a WWE press conference. Not the time.